Hi everybody, we're gonna paint a landscape together today. Not any specific landscape. I've got a lot of reference pictures from skies that I take every now and then. Whenever I see a beautiful sky, I try to take a picture. Mostly attracted to either morning or late day skies when there are a little bit of clouds and the colors are beautiful. There are different layers of color. I'm really attracted to that. Okay, so we're gonna paint a morning sky, and we using a reference image that I have, but we're not gonna worry about depicting the exact landscape. We're just gonna make it up. I am wetting the paper on both sides because it's in order to make the clouds work, I need the paper to stay wet for the whole duration of the painting, and I need to do that. I already put some masking tape beforehand, before the paper was wet, because I don't want to work the full let's say length of the paper. So I just placed the tape before and then I wetted both sides of the paper. It's okay if you do it like that. So first I'm just creating a kind of like an orange with some opera pink and quinacridone gold. I like creating oranges in this way because if I need it to be, let's say, more into the yellow domain, I just put more yellow, more quinacridone gold, or more sienna, whatever. If I wanted to tip a little bit to this kind of magenta-like color that some skies have, I just use more opera pink. So it's a great way to create an orange that you can tip to either make it warmer, cooler, whatever you need. Now I'm adding here just some John Friand in order to desaturate the mix a little bit. It's not so important to have all the colors right. This painting is more about getting the process right. How you lay the different layers of colors, and the most important thing here is control the amount of pigment in the brush and in the paper. The paper is gonna stay wet more or less for the whole duration of the painting, but whenever in these first layers, doesn't matter if we have some water in the brush, but later when we place the clouds, we have to control that there's not so much water in the brush, because if not, it will open too much. But you will see that really soon. Now I'm just adding some cerulean blue with cobalt turquoise, and also I add some lavender now. I don't use the same exact mixture of color all the way, right? That's why I say that you don't really need to worry that much about having the exact colors, but more about the process. Now I am in some cobalt blue because the area here in that corner is a little bit darker. So I went from cerulean to some cobalt now. And that's how you do it. You just add this first wash, kind of creating let's say like light structure that will hold the clouds afterwards. In this part of the page, there's a darker, let's say, section of clouds which is not that illuminated, that the one on the right. So I just went from the cobalt blue. I added more lavender, and I also added a little bit of neutral tint in order to darken this mix a bit. Now there's a first layer of really light clouds that it's on let's say almost blended with the sky, and I am adding some lavender to the previous mix that I did with the orange mix that I did before. Some lavender and some John Brillant in order to kind of have this kind of warm light gray. And I'm gonna put that right now. You see that I take the paint in the brush, and I also I clean the brush beforehand so it doesn't have too much water, and then I try to get the this mixture of paint, which is kind of thick, so that when I put it on the paper, since the paper is wet, the paint will open slowly. It will create a smooth transition, let's say. If I put too much water, it will open too much and it will ruin the cloud-like feeling, right? So just when you're placing the clouds in this stage, just bear in mind that you need to control the amount of water in the brush. Okay, so have a tissue at hand, and then when you create the mixture of the color that you want, you kind of you dry the brush with the tissue, and then you grab the paint again, so that you don't have too much water in the mixture. I try to work fast here. I'm just touching the paper with the brush, you know. You just create this kind of texture. It has some directionality because the clouds, you know, like they have perspective as well. I incorporated some coral now to the mix because there's a cloud there that has this kind of pink reflection. And we just keep working like this. We work fast. We just create this kind of cotton-like texture, just touching the paper, which is wet still, and the paint will beautifully blend with the background. Now we're gonna prepare some darker clouds, so I use some cobalt blue, and I darken the mixture that I had before, so it has cobalt blue, lavender, some neutral tint, and then I darken this section. Some more lavender. It's also quite an opaque color, let's say. So it's great to mix clouds with lavender because the paint will kind of stay on top of what it's underneath. I just added a little bit of isoaniline yellow. Isoaniline yellow, when you mix it with blues, it kind of creates a gray, a warm gray, and it's also great for clouds. Some neutral tint, so I'm making kind of like a dark mixture, and you can see how thick the paint is. It's not it doesn't have too much water, and that's what I want, because if not, I wouldn't be able to blend the clouds with the background. Now it feels like everything is a little bit, you know, like this mix is a little bit strong, but it will mellow down since the paper is wet. Now I also need a gray which is kind of in between the darkest and the lightest one, so I add a little bit of John Brillant to the mix for the clouds that I had before, because there's a few clouds here that are not that as dark as the ones that I just did. So by adding some John Brillant or titanium white, you just kind of mellow down a little bit the intensity of that mixture. If we don't apply a dark paint on the clouds, we also don't create contrast between the illuminated parts of the sky and the ones which are in the shadows. So it's important to bear that in mind when doing this kind of painting. You create a lot of depth by creating contrast within the sky. Now I'm darkening a little bit more this section. It's also gonna ground the sky. It's gonna link it to the ground, and it also will exaggerate kind of the illuminated section of the sky on the right if I darken the left. I dried the paper a little bit, not completely. I'm gonna put the ground now. That's why I dried the paper, because I don't want it to kind of to run into the sky. And I'm just creating a mixture of some perylene green with some perylene brown, and in order to get this kind of dark green, kind of gray mixture. And now I'm mixing a little bit of Venetian red with the same perylene brown and some cobalt turquoise, and it gives this kind of warm gray. You see how immediately when we add the ground, the whole image is kind of grounded, right? It starts making sense. And if you make the ground dark like I'm doing, the sky will immediately light up. I am adding more perylene brown, but I'm mixing it with some quinacridone gold in order to warm it up. And I'm moving my brush fast. I like the idea of leaving some gaps here and there, because it could be anything. It could be snow, it could be that there's water on the ground and it's reflecting light from the sky. I just like the idea of not filling the ground completely. It gives the illusion of texture, that there are things going on. in that section. Now I'm darkening a little bit the left part because it's kind of more into the shadows domain, right? The closer we get to the clouds in the background, the darker it is. And now we're gonna add some trees. And in this part where I'm working, the paper is not completely dry, let's say, so that the mixture of a pearl green with the pearl brown that I'm adding here kind of opens a little bit. I also added a little bit of lavender in order to cool it off, and it's mixing. It's kind of like blending softly with the paper because it's slightly wet in this section yet, which is what I want because it makes the feeling of this part being under, let's say, darker, cloudier sky that I want. And now on the right side of the landscape, we will maybe add a few trees that have a bigger contrast with the background, since that sky is lighter. Now I'm lifting some paint with a dry brush, just to get an illusion that there are some things there. It could be like, I don't know, some wooden poles or whatever. We're just playing with the idea of texture, with the idea of certain things going on. And that's it. This is a quick landscape. I just wanted to get the idea that you can create really beautiful, quick, and efficient landscapes if you work fast with a wet paper. Just bear in mind the most important thing is to control the amount of water that you have in your brush. So in the beginning, it doesn't matter if there's water in the brush because you're doing like the first layer of light. But later, when you work the clouds, just bear in mind that the paper is wet, so you don't really need much humidity in your brush. You just need the right amount of paint in the brush. So don't put too much water on the brush when doing the clouds. Okay, just apply them on the wet paper, and they will immediately open and blend in beautifully. I hope that you like it, and I hope that you learned something with me, and that will make me really happy. See you soon.